At one time, both Liberty Bankers Life and Royal Neighbors of America were kind of on the fence about the whole Final Expense Telesales thing. With the recent product changes and additions that both companies have had, it's obvious that they are both going all in on Final Expense Telesales and have both become must-have carriers for anybody selling Final Expense life insurance over the phone. If you consider yourself a serious insurance agent, some of the stuff that I'm about to share with you here in this video is like total game changer, like super important information. So whatever you do, don't click away. Now, first, we're going to talk about the new Liberty Bankers Life product changes, and then we're going to go over the changes that Royal Neighbors made. And this is when I'd like to invite you to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. We're putting out new Final Expense and insurance sales content and videos every week. And if you stick around until the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to get a copy of the Telesales Superfile, which has some very, very cool sales materials that you're most likely going to want to use or at least share with your clients, if you sell Final Expense over the phone, that is. Just a couple of months ago, Liberty Bankers Life made the very first changes. Now, they added a voice signature process, which actually replaced the 30-minute telephone application process that they used to have. That's right, guys. They made the whole process, the entire application process, a lot easier. So now you fill out the electronic application, while you're speaking with the client, and then you simply call in for the three-way call where the company verifies who you and the client are, and what they do is they simply ask them if it's okay to use the client's voice as an approval for the signature. The client says yes, and voila, it's done. And for those of you who are face-to-face agents, Liberty Bankers Life did make a couple of very important changes in that process too, mostly to your benefit. First, you can now choose the new type to sign, is what it's called, type to sign option for the signature, or you can use the same voice signature option that I just talked about, that's used for telesales. Dude, they just totally streamlined the entire process, making this extremely user/agent friendly. I like it. And of course, they did have to throw in one little curveball for the face-to-face Final Expense agents. You see, guys, they just want to make sure that we're actually in front of the clients when we do the type to sign option. So what they will do is they're going to randomly select a sample of applications, and they're not going to do this with all your clients, but they're going to select some of them. And what they're going to do is they're going to use their new phone identity verification call. Yeah, the way it works is as follows. If they choose to use your application to place the identity verification call, they're going to notify you of this as soon as you, the agent, add in your signature. You let your client know, hey buddy, you're going to be getting a phone call within the next 2 hours, and that's how they do it, from Liberty Bankers Life. And just don't worry, buddy, they're just calling to verify that I was here with you and that you are who I said you were. They will make 3 attempts to call your client, and if the client doesn't answer, they're going to notify you so that you can make sure that the verification is made by Liberty Bankers Life and your client. Check this out. They made one more very significant change. What they're doing, they're now allowing you to post-date the first draft 35 days out from when you get the application signed. It's no longer only 30 days. Very cool. So for those of you, in the know, I'm sure you get the significance of this. No matter what day you meet with or sell your client over the phone, you can make sure that the very first draft is done on the exact day that client receives their Social Security benefits. Man, it just kills me that all the Final Expense companies aren't doing this. I mean, it just makes so much sense to be able to set up the first bank draft 35 days out for our low-income seniors, for the people in our market that we sell to. While these changes were happening with Liberty Bankers Life, Royal Neighbors of America was actually in the process of making some game-changing additions to their process too. And they recently added their new Final Expense Remote E application for Final Expense Telesales agents. And they added their new Jet Remote e-application for selling term life and their high face amount whole life insurance product over the phone. Yes. As a final expense agent, the only option that we used to have was their lengthy, true telephone application process. Very similar, just like the old Liberty Bankers Life telephone sales process. I mean, this thing was brutal. You had to keep your fingers crossed the whole time, like 30 minutes or longer, during that whole phone interview thing, hoping that please don't let the client start talking about, some potential health condition that they forgot to tell me about. So now, if you're selling over the phone with Royal Neighbors, you fill out the electronic application and it's going to give you two signature options. The first is the voice signature, where they'll send your client a text message. It's just kind of weird, but they do that first. And then the client has to approve it. And then you make the three-way call into Royal Neighbors. And, just like with Liberty Bankers Life, they're going to do a short ID identification verification and ask your client if it's okay to use their voice as their signature. The second option with Royal Neighbors is for an e-signature. Your client gets the email, with the DocuSign, and you direct them to look where it says Add Signature. The client clicks on it and approves their signature. Then, both the client and you are actually going to get an email showing that the process has been completed correctly. The fact that you can use both signature options remotely for the final expense product, the term product, and the simplified issue, high face amount whole life product is really awesome. Now, for Liberty Bankers Life, it's really good to see that they made the changes that they made. However, they still should have, in my opinion, added an e-signature with DocuSign option, just like Royal Neighbors. And I really don't know why they didn't. I mean, think about it. If you're making an after-hours sale, or selling the client on a Sunday, you can't even use Liberty Bankers Life. For a copy of the Final Expense Telesales Superfile that I mentioned earlier, just email me at doug@ufesonline.com. For more information on using our remote telesales final expense process, which actually gives you access to 20 to 30 preset calendar appointments every single day, just shoot me an email at that same address. Remember, guys, when you put the needs of your clients first, everything else will usually fall right into place. Now, get out there or get on that phone and do something good for someone today. Happy hunting.